Hello. Welcome. Good morning. What do we got? Oh, we already got 42 people here. That's good. That's good. It's what is today? It's Tuesday, right? Okay. Well, Tuesday. Hey, guess what? Because I'm not on the radio and this is not sponsorship driven, I can actually remind you that tonight we have trivia night at Max on New Jessup Highway in beautiful Brunswick, Georgia. Max trivia is fun. I'll just say that. It is a lot of fun, and we started at 7 o'clock. And if you think you have what it takes, then we'd love to have you out there. It's I don't know, it's a lot of fun, and it's also a lot of good food. So we got a lot of folks already here, a lot of you joining on the YouTube front. I appreciate that. Again, we're trying to get those YouTube subscriptions up to 600. No, it's not 600. We're trying to get them up to 1,000. Yesterday we were trying to hit 600. We hit that, we went past it, and we are currently at 625. So again, just more and more YouTube subscriptions help us out tremendously. Good morning, everybody. And Paul, I get my thumbs up from Paul. Used to get a thumbs up from Paul on Facebook every morning, and now I get it right there. Holy Ghost Trucker's there. He says, good morning. I appreciate that. Skip coming in with that one. And Skip has shifted over to YouTube. I appreciate that. Mitch says, good morning. I appreciate that one. Jessica, it is good to be heard. I'll just say that. And Stanley's present and accounted for too. And we appreciate everybody being here for us this morning. I want to get into something really quickly because I've been getting a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails and a lot of notes from people. You know, when, come on, how can we do this? We got to hurry this up. We got to speed this up. We got to get going. And you have to, I'm begging you, please be patient. That is the most important thing right now, because this is involving attorneys. The final details of what is next for me and for what we do are dependent on a lot of different things. And I'm having to get advice. It's a conversation I was having a little bit yesterday, because they sent me some documents, then they sent me another set of documents, and then there are different ways to interpret some things that they said in the documents. And I want to make sure I'm clear, because the last thing I want to do is launch a program, get on the radio, and then, have some legal charges filed, in some civil suit, some type thing. And then we have to shut everything down again. I am telling you, my desire is to get going at the beginning of August. There are two different clauses in the contract, one of which suggests that, well, there are three things in the contract. One suggests that maybe I could do that at the beginning of August. One suggests I may have to wait 3 months. Another suggests I may have to wait 6 months, which would just be crazy to me, because that would be next year before I could even get out there and do a thing. I will keep doing this just because I think this is a good idea, just to kind of keep you guys in the loop, let you guys know what all's going on. But the only thing I ask is that you be patient. I'm frustrated by it as much as anybody. And I've had a lot of people, what can we do? What can we do to go? And that's great. I love that. I love the enthusiasm. I love the passion. But it just can't happen overnight. And sadly, there is no speeding it up. It's going to go at the pace that it goes at. That having been said, had another good set of meetings yesterday that I think are going to be fruitful. They're not yesterday's meeting wasn't like the major meeting. It was, you got to remember, when I was employed by iHeart, I did a lot of different things that were all considered one job. And now that I'm not employed by iHeart, they're not all considered one job. So I'm kind of picking up the pieces of several different things. The main thing being the program, but obviously there's a lot else that I was doing that I'm trying to kind of get involved in. I actually got handed the opportunity job in Raleigh yesterday. And I had the conversation. I told him I'd look at it, but the reality is, I'm here. I want to be here. I'm going to be here. I'm not going to go to Raleigh. Mrs. Rifen, the Liberian, is too close to retirement for us to just uproot and leave without, fulfilling that, portion of her life. It would be wrong to her. It'd be wrong to us. So that's probably not a thing that's going to happen. So again, the only thing I just ask is please, 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 please be patient. There are a lot of things that are having to be sorted through. There are attorneys that are going to get involved, and it's and I don't say there are attorneys that are going to get involved like I'm going to sue them. It's just I can't sign certain things without having an attorney look it over and say yes, this is a good thing. I can't do that. I can't put myself in a position where I'm exposed in some way that I don't understand because I didn't go to law school. So I know it's going to take longer, but know this, from the conversations that I've been having, and I got another really, really interesting meeting today at 1. But I'll just say this, from the things that we've had, the meetings that we've had, the discussions that I've had with people, I feel like the path forward is a lot clearer, even if the timeline is murkier. I'll just say it that way. Now, let's get into some stuff. Let's get into some stuff that's going on, because I saw some of the most unbelievable stuff I've ever seen in my life this morning as I was just poking around the interwebs and looking at stories and news, because it's what you do. United States soccer team lost. The U.S. national team, the USNT, the U.S. nose and throat, lost last night in the World Cup, and they were eliminated. Holy cow. And and the reason I know this is not because I was watching it, because I wasn't. I'll be honest with you. I'm just not a soccer guy. It doesn't appeal to me. But I knew it because I get push notifications from news sites and news sources and news apps on my iPad, and all night push notification. U.S. national team lost. They're defeated. They lose to who'd they lose to? Ecuador, I think. And just nonstop push notifications about it. Nonstop. Here's the sad part about all of it. The sad part is, this morning, I saw friends that I have who are literally consumed with TDS blaming Trump. Now, the interesting thing is, we've never won a World Cup. Oh, it's Belgium? Oh, well, you can't even say Belgium. That's one of the most foul words you can ever say. So the I'll post that. Just make sure. Yes, Belgium. Okay, my apologies. But anyway, the point is, I don't think we've ever done better in the World Cup than we have this year. Have we? And I literally saw friends who are just eaten alive with TDS blaming Trump for the loss. Like he suited up and got on the field. Oh, and he missed an opportunity. He was the goalie and he missed the penalty kick. It was just the darndest thing. But, the other really dumb part about all of that, the TDS, is that the same people prior to the game were complaining that Trump had rigged the World Cup and that the United States was going to win, but only because Trump had gone out and rigged it. So then the United States does not go out and win, and it's Trump's fault they lost. Now, I've railed for years about tribalism. I'm just not a fan of, everything on our team is good, everything on your team is bad. Democrats are finding that out right now with Graham Plattner, because they were trying hard to do everything on our team is good. And now they're getting to the point where there are, under the surface, credible rape allegations against Graham Plattner. Now they're starting to go, well, I'm withdrawing my endorsement of Graham Plattner. Never mind on Graham Plattner. But beforehand, it was all our team, yay. Nazi tattoo, doesn't matter. Assaulting a woman, yeah, but she's a conservative. Literally, that was kind of their excuse when they, believe all women except the conservative ones. And now they're finding out the hard way that now they got liberal women accusing them of something. Now, suddenly, we can't do anything. But yes, it's nuts to do the whole our team good, their team bad. So and the reason I hate it is because you wind up putting yourself into really, really ideologically inconsistent positions, like Trump has rigged the World Cup and therefore we're going to win, but it's all Trump's fault because he's dirty, nasty, filthy, awful, terrible person. And then we lose, which is which, in normal logical Earth, if that exists somewhere still, then the people who said, oh, Trump rigged it, was going to lose, go, oh, my bad. I thought he had rigged it, but darn it, he didn't rig it. I guess I was wrong. But no, instead they go, oh, see, everything Trump touches dies. It's Trump's fault because he got involved. Again, you can't do our team good, your team bad without really looking stupid, because you have to flip-flop a lot. Let's really quickly address this. Let's see. Speaking of politics, not football, how long do you think Mitch has been gone? Yeah, I noticed his daughter deactivated his social media accounts. And that is a problem. That is a concern. I suspect that they're trying to figure out next steps. But yeah, I don't think Mitch leaves the hospital. That's for sure. I wish there had been a good Republican candidate to take Susan Collins out. She is so bad. But Randy, you have to understand, and again, this is the politics of it. And this is why even Trump has stepped up and endorsed Susan Collins, because he knows in Maine, this is the best you're going to get. You're not going to have somebody who is just a raging, right-wing MAGA whatever type elected in Maine. It's just not going to happen. They are a more liberal state, and if you can get a Republican who's canvassing with the Republicans, sometimes Susan Collins frustrates the heck out of me sometimes, but she's the best shot in Maine, and she's proven that over and over again. And that's one of the things that's really happening with Plattner as this stuff continues to come out, more and more and more and more Democrats are willing to vote for her. So I think I think she's going to be okay. I don't love everything she says or does, but trust me, you don't throw her to the wolves because you get Democrats in replacement of her. That just bottom line, you do. So story on front page paper of record, and this was a press release that was issued last week by the police department, Glenn County Police, investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of a man whose body was found last week near Chapel Crossing Road's intersection with Spur 25. They have identified him now. The initial press release didn't identify him. People went crazy on social media. You're not going to say who, what, and the reality is with these investigations, you just never know. You don't know what they're releasing. You sometimes don't know why they're not releasing it. And having covered some of these things and having learned some of the things that are happening as they're going on, not this one in particular. Let me make sure I'm clear on that. But there are reasons why they don't say everything. And they sometimes aid the investigation. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes it's an attempt to aid the investigation in not saying everything. So don't get angry when they can't just sit there and give you an open book and then do a 10-episode true crime podcast about it. There's an investigation going on, and I'm hearing things about this one that there probably is a pretty severe need for an investigation in this one. They identified the man. Douglas Sizemore Jr. is the deceased. I'm being told by other sources, because I don't think it's been officially released, it was 39 years old. And there is an investigation ongoing, and there's a reason for an investigation to be ongoing on this one. So again, I just say, remember, they can't just put everything out. It's not NCIS. They're not going to get it resolved in 41 and a half minutes. Just, be helpful where you can. And just kind of stand back and watch if you can't be helpful. They do want folks to call if you have any information. And again, this body was found near, I guess, on Chapel Crossing Road near the spur. So I guess not too far from if my mental geography is correct, it's not too far from, I guess, the Nissan place. 912-554-3645 or silent witness 912-264 1333. Yeah, there really is. And sometimes there are things they just can't say. They can't. And Brian's been there. He's done the work. And it does happen. And trust me, there have been there's one prominent example. I don't want to open up a can of worms, but there's one prominent example where I'll just say this. In talking with law enforcement at the time, there was a murder case, a pretty prominent murder case here in this area. And they would not reveal the method of death to the press. And press were going crazy. And there was one member of the press who may or may not have worked for the paper of record, who was running around telling everybody that they knew the method, and they told everybody the method. They were wrong, by the way. And they told everybody the method. And and where'd you get that from? Oh, I have a friend who's a doctor at the hospital in Savannah. It's like, oh, there's a HIPAA violation. But it turned out they were keeping that under wraps because in the 911 call, the murderer admitted to the method of death. And the only way they could figure out the murder of death in the case was through the autopsy, because there was so much damage done, sadly, in the murder. There was so much damage done. They really did not know how it had happened until the autopsy was done. But then you go back and listen to the 911 call, the person who did the kill, just flat out says it in the 911 call. Even though, again, nobody else could tell without the autopsy how they'd been killed. So, they withhold these things because sometimes people say things that they have not put out there that then leads them to understand that this person knows much more about this than we originally thought. So that's don't be terribly frustrated with them if the case is moving forward and they're not saying a ton, because again, it's necessary. If they put all the details out there and everybody knows all the details, then the people who've done it can come up with stories around the details they put out there, and people who haven't done it will, the crackpots who will call in and start claiming to know things they don't know, and then the psychics, and they're out there, will start claiming things that they're not supposed to know, and it's trust me, it's for the betterment of humanity. So we'll see how that goes. We'll continue following that, obviously, as time goes on. Special event district for the village was approved. They had the Thursday night meeting, which surprised me. I'll be honest with you, because I said all along, I didn't think they'd have the meeting. Now, they didn't have the 104 General Oglethorpe rezoning request, but they did have the meeting itself. And one of the things they did was they approved the special event district for the Pier Village on St. Simons. And I'll be honest with you, I was like, I understood the 104 General Oglethorpe outcry. I understood that because there was, while I feel like the doctors involved are noble in intent, and I think they do a very good business. I understand they're fine people. But they were asking for a change to be made in a residential area right next to houses that was going to stand, because there was apparently originally talk of putting a reversion clause in there, and apparently that wasn't legal. So they were stuck with a situation where they were asking for a change permanently in the rezoning of this piece of property in a residential area. And you just don't know what's going to happen once it's no longer being served as a doctor's office. So I understood the outcry for that. And it's spot zoning. It's taking this entire thing and then taking a little square and going, we're going to change the zoning right there. We just overhauled all of our ordinances, and then we're going to do that. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I understood why people were upset about it, particularly the neighbors. This one also had a lot of people upset about it. And this to me was the kind of thing where you go, because sometimes I think I know that there are people on St. Simons who get accused of just trying to stop all growth and all development and all anything there. And you know, you have to navigate kind of a little labyrinth with this whole thing, because there are people who are genuinely concerned about doing things the right way. And then there are some people who just anything that could have more people on the island is bad. And you know, there are those differences. There are there are people on both sides of that, by the way. So right now we've got this overlay district on St. Simons in the Village. I think this is going to be really good. I think this is going to be really good because it's going to really allow for more efforts that will actually get not just locals, but also tourists. Tourists and locals will be able to enjoy events that are happening out there. And from what I've heard from a lot of people, there's a lot of talk of doing a First Friday style thing in the Village. And you've seen how First Friday has blown up in the city. It's been tremendous. It's been great for the city. I see no reason why they can't have special district approved for that area, because that area seems perfect for exactly what they're talking about doing. So Mr. Kaysen says the causeway is backing up. He's not sure why. So if anybody knows why the causeway is backing up, we'd like to hear it. But be careful as you're going along your commute today. In fact, be careful for a lot of different things, because it's also going to be really, really, really hot today. In fact, there's talk of heat index maybe running 110 today. 110. What happened to the Grand Western Art Museum that was supposed to go where the dog houses were in downtown St. Simon? I don't know. I don't know what happened to that. I have no idea what happened to that at all. I remember it. I remember it being a point of contention, but don't know. Hank Johnson wants to know how many people St. Simon for it. It could flip. You never know. You never know. Can we say the C word now? Yes, we can. Well, for right now, yes, we can say the C word. Causeway. I said it. Can you imagine? Let's see. Can a radio station in Brunswick make a profit without local advertisers? I admit I listened to hear Fox News at the top of the hour and stayed just to see if there are any local ads playing. I don't know. I don't know. But I can say this: if you don't have to pay a local staff, I guess that helps a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes from there. Because there's one way on and one way off. Well, I mean, that's the case with most islands. But there's some mornings there's a backup, and some mornings there's not a backup. It's we've got clarification there that it is heading on, so eastbound, as the kids like to say. So just keep that in mind as you're planning your daily commute. I'm enjoying being here. I'm enjoying doing this. This has been fun, and it's been looser than we had been. Oh, we got to get some music on that intro and countdown. So Bobby says there's a truck broken down on the causeway, and this is fairly typical. You could do something about that and reroute some of the traffic if you didn't have a giant divider down the center of the causeway. For some reason, the causeway is the only road in Glenn County that they don't trust people to actually stay on their side of the road. There are more crossover collisions on 17 than there ever were on the causeway, by the way. But we got to put a divider down the middle of that. So anyway, got to get some music on the intro and countdown, though. You know, I didn't play, and I should go back and play the little intro video that I had that Noah Ring did for us.
The Scott Ryfun Radio Show.
I gotta work that in somewhere. I got to do that more frequently. I remembered last night. I remembered I hadn't done that this morning, but I'll have to work that in somewhere. Really quickly too. Just want to get into this. I covered the Coligny Beach shooting yesterday, and I guess it was yesterday when they were talking about it, 7 people were shot, and now they're saying 8 people were shot at Coligny Beach on the 4th of July. And Hilton Head, you don't really think of shootings, but apparently we have to think about shootings now. So, yeah, they've gone up on the number, originally 7, 8, but I haven't heard of anybody else being arrested. And they got those 4 yesterday. WSAV, Sarah Smith, Andrew Davis, Ava Cortez, and Chris Hummer all teamed up for this one. Beaufort County Sheriff P.J. Tanner, Mayor Alan Perry held a press conference the day after the Coligny Beach shooting that injured 8 people. Now, why did the mayor have to get involved? Well, you saw Jaws. You got a tourist area. The mayor needs to be out there. I totally get why the mayor is there. Totally get it. Key moments of the press conference. When asked what resources can be used to prevent teen crime, Tanner responded, jail and remove them from society. That's pretty heavy duty. This was not a mass shooting, Tanner said. All 8 people shot during the incident were adults. Tanner did not confirm whether all the injured were part of the groups that initiated the gunfire. The interesting thing about that is that still legally, it does still fit the bill of being a mass shooting. I mean, just like legally speaking, there were more than 3 people shot. And that's really all it takes in one incident. So, yeah, I would disagree with that. It is interesting, though, that he just pretty much said jail and remove them from society as far as what to do about the teen crime. You know, one of the things that was pointed out to me yesterday, Landa pointed this out to me yesterday. Landa is great at coming up with some of this stuff. And Landa is very plugged in. And he said, you know, it's interesting. You see these, you know, groups shooting each other and there are teenagers involved and they never arrest any of the parents. And the reason I thought, wow, that really kind of hit me hard was because remember we had that school shooting a couple of years ago where they did arrest the parents and charged them. But you don't see it when these groups get involved. And he pointed out, he said, you know, Oglethorpe Mall shooting, did they arrest any of the parents? No, they didn't. And I thought that was a fair point. I mean, if you're going to do it, do it. Don't just do it sometimes. That's awful. Yeah, shame on you. Shame on you. I don't know if you remember this or not, but the Dallas Cowboys used to win a lot of games. They don't now. I blame Jerry Jones. But one of the things I've gotten to do on YouTube lately is they have a bunch of old games on there. You get to watch some of those. In fact, one day I'll stand here and just bust all of your delusions because I rewatched that 1979 Falcons Cowboys playoff game where they came back from down 24-10 to beat the Falcons. And I'm going to tell you something very, very clear when you watch the video. At no point, and you can watch it yourself, and if you need me to send you the link, I'll send you the link. At no point did the Falcons play prevent defense. That is one of those things where I want to rescue my pride, so I'm going to say there's an excuse, and here's the excuse. At no point in that 1979 playoff game, because I hear it all the time from people. Yeah, the only reason they lost because they went to prevent too soon, and prevent just prevents you from winning. At no point did the Atlanta Falcons go to prevent defense in that game. Didn't happen. Anyway, sheriff said a fist fight between 2 groups of various ages initiated the gunfire. I would say the people initiated the gunfire, but that's just me. It took 17 seconds for law enforcement to respond to the incident, according to Tanner. Flock camera technology was used to capture the license plate number of a suspect vehicle, leading to a traffic stop, which ultimately resulted in 4 arrests. Tanner did not confirm whether more arrests or charges are forthcoming. So the flock camera is responsible for getting these kids arrested. Okay. No, you know what's interesting about the flock cameras? Everybody, there's surveillance going on us. Oh, we're all being surveilled. I can't believe we're being surveilled all the time. They're watching us all the time. And, you know, you've seen these First Amendment auditors. Somebody the other day was posting again, the First Amendment auditors coming to Brunswick a while back and Oh, I know why, because G-Man said they were outside his bank trying to cause a ruckus the other day. And yeah, we'd looked at when they went to the courthouse and harassed all the deputies, and the deputies initially responded very poorly. And then Sheriff Jump came out and handled it very properly. But it's interesting. These First Amendment auditors come out and they go, this is not a crime. I can take video and photos of anybody I want if they're in public. I mean, that's like their thing. That's their shtick. They go around and they do that. They just take videos of people and they wait for you to get mad. And then they cite their First Amendment rights, especially if you're government or you call the cops on them or whatever. For some reason, that argument goes completely out the window when it comes to the flock cameras. I haven't understood that yet. Let's see, jail and keep them safe. You show you can't follow the rules and endanger everybody's lives because we know they can't hit their target accurately. Well, there's those pistols. Let's see. Number 111. Thank you. I appreciate that very, very, very much. They're now taking over First Friday. It's only a matter of time before the shooting. So I hope not. I know that there were some incidents a couple of months ago, but I feel like it's been a little better, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm with you on that. They're not groups. Rear end collision, we're being told. If there was a truck broken down, it was because it smashed into the back of another car. Got it. Hello, Donna. Welcome to the program, or the whatever we're doing here. Pooler residents standing up against the district. I'm not a Pooler resident, but what I will say is everything I read about the district I thought was really cool. But I don't have to deal with the traffic. And I know Pooler's already very, very, very difficult to get to, like the outlet mall exit. I mean, you just sit there. You eventually get where you're going, hopefully, maybe, if somebody's really nice and lets you in somewhere. So, I mean, they've already got problems. I get it. But that district plan seems really neat. I don't know. I think so anyway. So there's also a Savannah State ball player. I don't know if you saw this or not. Baseball player for Savannah State. And the big headlines on WTOC, Savannah State baseball player detained by ICE. Family seeks answers. And the weird thing about that is when you read the article, the family has answers, mostly. Who wrote this? Oh, just WTOC staff. Savannah State University baseball players being held by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Johan Sandoval, a second baseman for Savannah State, was detained by ICE on Friday. He had most recently been playing for a summer league in Albany. Sandoval was born in the Dominican Republic and came to the United States in 2021 to play baseball and pursue a college education. They're always getting educated. Always getting educated. Always pursuing an education. You have to throw that in there for the sympathy aspect of it. Trust me on this. Remember, Trayvon Martin was going to go to college. Michael Brown was about to go to college. These guys, anytime you got to throw in who's trying to get an education. He was just going to go to college. He is the only one of his 7 siblings without a U.S. citizenship. Okay, I still fail to see where this is the problem with, this is the problem with the administration. I mean, this is on the family. So they know he's there. They know there's an issue with his visa. They know that he's not there legally. His sisters, Stacy and Melissa Sandoval, said the detention involved an issue with his student visa and his transfer to Savannah State. We don't really have the full scope of or where the lapse or what happened in regards to his transfer to the university. So they know his visa lapsed. So the family's not really seeking answers. They know. Stacy said the news was difficult for family members in the Dominican Republic as well. Why? They get to see him. As for the relatives back in the Dominican Republic, it was devastating news for them to see everything come to a crashing halt in the way that it has. It was very jarring for them. It was unexpected. Well, never mind. They've set up a GoFundMe to cover the legal expenses. Maybe that's what I needed to do. The family said support from Savannah State University provided some relief, including conversations with President Jermaine Worrell. He noted how much he respects Johan as a student athlete, how he has carried the Tigers on and off the field, and how important he is as a member of the community, Melissa Sandoval said. Okay, well then do your paperwork. ICE has not responded to questions about why Sandoval was detained or his current immigration status. Again, if you look, then it says, and I thought this was interesting, we still think this is going to be a good thing. He's still going to go back to school. So was he no longer in school? You said he was playing for Summer League in Albany. Maybe that was, him doing something on summer vacation, but it almost sounds like he wasn't really going back to school. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe that's the issue. There were plenty of law enforcement at First Friday, along with many groups of Flexi attendees. I felt very safe. Yeah, I thought they had beefed things up with the way, because there was a couple of months ago, they did basically the teen takeover, which is the catchphrase of the day. It set a lot of people off. And of course, they have a real golden goose in First Friday downtown Brunswick. So you got to protect that thing. And they immediately took action to do so. There's the point. The GoFundMe is always what these people want, liberal money. Yeah, there's always a GoFundMe. There's no doubt about that. You're very right about that. No doubt. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm gonna visit the courthouse today. Kenny Cruz is there. I try not to talk about that podcast guy because I try not to give him exposure. But one of the things really annoyed me the other day was some guy went, "What do you think about the beef between our news outlets?" And it's like, there's no beef between the news outlets. There's someone who is a liar with some real issues who will just say anything he can say to get where he wants to get, and people calling him out on it. That's not really a beef. That's someone has a real problem. And he just sending nasty, nasty texts to Kenny Cruz, and Kenny Cruz basically filed stalking charges against him. So that's going to be heard today. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to report on it. And I'm going to be supportive as well. I'm going to play two roles in this because, again, I saw the text messages. They were off the chain. And I've seen the messages that he's put for me on social media that are also off the chain. He doesn't seem to share that aspect of what he does with his followers. And there's a reason for that. But and if anybody would like to see them, I'll certainly show them to you, but please be prepared because some of it's pretty disgusting. I'll just say that. And we can give you chapter and verse on the whole thing. But again, I don't really want to get into a lot of it because I don't want to give that guy a lot of publicity, frankly. Yes, and sent your husband a horrible message that was absolutely disgusting. And again, is pretending to white knight this whole thing. And it's sad what people will actually believe. And it's sad the number of lies people can go through. I mean, heck, he and Kenny were in court, a month ago. And he claimed, you'll know everything. You'll know everything because I secretly recorded it. Or then he turned to someone else secretly recorded it. And interesting. Well, interesting is a nice way to put it. I'll just say that. But yeah, they claimed he had a recording of the proceedings, which honestly, I was at those proceedings because he read the gross out ones in my Stacey Abrams voice. The funny thing is I'm not bound by FCC rules anymore while I'm on this stream. And even then I can't see myself actually saying some of the things that are in those messages. I can't imagine doing that. But yeah, claimed to have a recording of the whole court proceedings, which was not legal. And claimed that I'm going to show it and everyone can see what happened or can hear what happened for themselves. And I welcome that because first off, it would prove he did something illegal. And secondly, well, not that there's not proof he did something illegal already, but it would also there was a lot of laughter during the proceeding a month ago because he was so like run down by the judge for just being all over the map, ill prepared, making legal arguments that don't exist. It was, and it was funny because he did this thing where he finished and he's like, and then he goes back and he goes, I defeated Kenny Cruz and Scott Rifen in court. I didn't take him to court. In fact, the only reason I was in court that day was because he subpoenaed me. The only reason I was there. Because he subpoenaed me. I had to be there. And then I never got called on. So the only thing I could figure with that was he was like, oh, I'm going to subpoena him so he'll be there. And then I can tell everybody that he was there because he was part of this action, which I was not part of the action. Wasn't. You know, I'm pretty good at just telling you stuff. You know, I wish I could tell you more about the stuff that's going on with me with the employment situation, but I legally can't. But you know, pretty good at just putting things out there. And yeah, none of that happened. None of it happened. Well, first off, you're calling it the Stacey Abrams voice. Both of you are calling it the Stacey Abrams voice. And I prefer to refer to it as the Selena Montgomery voice. Because when she writes those novels, she's not writing them. Now they do. When you go see the same books, they're on the shelves now. They say, Stacey Abrams, writing as Selena Montgomery. But they used to just say Selena Montgomery. And the funny thing is, the reason they said Selena Montgomery and not Stacey Abrams was because she was embarrassed. Because they're pretty nasty. And then she became very popular and she realized she could sell products with her name on them. So all of a sudden now they say Stacey Abrams writing as Selena Montgomery. Kind of like Richard Bachman, you know, used to be Richard Bachman. Thinner Richard Bachman. And then now it is Stephen King writing as Richard Bachman because he knows he can sell the book. Well, the same. Wreck on the Causeway. Yes, still Wreck on the Causeway. And from what I understand from Danny from Prime South Bank is that it's one of those days where, you know, it starts stacking up on the causeway and then it keeps stacking up. And then all of a sudden it's on 17 and it's running both ways down 17. So just be careful. That's all we'll say. Philip sent me a note, but he didn't, I don't think he knows about this, apparently. We'll have to drop Philip a note, perhaps with a link. Let's see. Okay. Weird. All right. Yes, I'm getting text messages. I'm getting these messages. I'm getting good mornings. And of course, we certainly say good morning to you as well. But that's a lot of what I've got so far. Now, hang on a second. I got a note from somebody who says, so basically the overlay was just an open container. So you can have open container in the village. At times, yes. At times, exactly. So there's that. Let's see. You're telling us right. What? With Selena Montgomery? I don't understand. Is this the Selena Montgomery thing? Oh man, those books are horrible. But again, in the early days, Selena Montgomery. Now, Stacey Abrams writing as Selena Montgomery. I don't know what to tell you there. They're pretty filthy though. I'll just say that. All right, so be careful if you're heading out on 17. If you need to go on to St. Simon's Island, it's going to be a problem for many of you this morning while they get this wreck taken care of, cleared out. And yes, yes, Joe, you're correct. I'm not a fan of that divider on the causeway. Again, there are other streets in this town where there have been more lethal crossover collisions, and we didn't put a giant barrier in the middle of them. Did you? Oh, that's not good. Not here. You didn't get one here. Hopefully. Well, I opened with that, so I'm going to ask you to go back to the beginning of the stream when we get done and just listen, because I opened discussing kind of what the progress is, and just to understand, I'm getting a lot of people who are trying to go, we got to have something, we got to do it now, got it, come on, what can we do to get this? And you can't speed it up. It's a process that is going to have to play itself out. It's going to take a little time. There are 3 different timelines that might be followed depending on the legal guidance I end up with. My preferred date is to go at the beginning of August. There are elements of the paperwork that suggest a 3-month period before I can do anything. There are other elements that suggest a 6-month period before I can do anything. So that's where we are. And again, you can watch the beginning of it because I go a little more in depth with it. But just know that the good news is the path is becoming clearer. The bad news is the date is not clear. That's all. Let's see. They need to rework light traffic patterns and expand like every roadway. Direct exit from the outlet and Gulfstream to the interstate would help. Yeah, that exit where the outlet is just insane. I mean, it's great. It's a great area. I love it. I love going there, except the part of actually going there. That's the part. Everything about going there is wonderful, except going there. It's a very difficult area but I will say this, the area they proposed, the district, seems really, really cool. Really cool. I don't understand how they can keep you from earning a living. Well, they won't have a problem if I earn a living if I go, work in a hardware store. They won't have a problem if I go earn a living if I go work at the movie theater. If I join a road crew. But the broadcasting, there are things you have to do because yes, it hurts them. And that's the funny thing is they know it hurts them. And you would think, I'm kind of with you logically. If they didn't think I was worth it to continue on, then let me be worth it to somebody else. Or let me be worth it to myself in conjunction with some other people. But sadly, that's not how this works. They protect their and it's interesting the lengths people go to in this industry to follow those rules. We there was a guy. This is actual, honest to goodness, true story. I don't think I'm telling tales out of school here. And I do have to be careful because there are certain things like, I'm not allowed to utilize the knowledge or trade secrets that I acquired working for iHeartMedia, which is kind of stupid because it's all broadcasting. I can't give you Nielsen numbers, but because they pay for those and they own those, but I can tell you things that I do. But we had a guy that was running one of the stations in Savannah, and he made this big deal. It was really weird. He made this really big deal. He got a job in South Carolina, and he was moving to South Carolina, and he was going to go work for Cumulus Media, and they had a big celebration, big party, going away party for him and everything, and he left. And 6 months later, he was in charge of the Cumulus stations across town. And so, and the reason why was because he went and worked out his 6 months severance in his agreement and then came right back. So, and all along was actually just going to go work for the competition, but he did respect his contract and the 6 months that was in the contract. But obviously the difference between his situation and my situation is he voluntarily left. So I understand the 6 months. In this particular instance, so we shall see. We'll see what's binding, what's not binding. We'll see all of that. Steven, you got to get here earlier. We talked about this. I didn't watch it last night, as I mentioned earlier. I didn't watch it last night because I don't really care about soccer, and that's my problem, and that's fine. But I found out about it because like every news app had a push notification to let me know that the United States had been eliminated. Shocking! United States eliminated. And then this morning I got up and I saw of my TDS friends all blaming Trump. Oh, everything Trump touches dies. Oh, that Trump. Oh, I can't believe that Trump. Like Trump was playing goalie or something. And but I just, again, the take from earlier was I just thought it was funny because the day before, all of the TDS people were going, Trump has intervened and the United States is going to win, but it'll be a tainted win because Trump intervened and cheated in the World Cup because he got the guy who was suspended, unsuspended, which there apparently was another guy who was unsuspended as well earlier in the cup, and nobody's talking about that. But yeah, it just was like the day before that America is going to win and it's not fair. Does Trump, that evil Trump did it. And then the immediate moment that we lose, it's Trump's fault. And that's why, again, I use that as an argument against tribalism this morning, because with tribalism, our team, everything our team does is good. Everything their team does is bad. The problem with that is you wind up putting yourself in a logical pretzel and you don't even know it. You just flip on a dime and you don't even realize you flipped on a dime. So we literally had a squad of people out there yesterday screaming that Trump was going to make the United States win and it was all his fault because he was cheating. And then today, the same people, Trump caused the United States to lose. So anything that happens, it is bad because of Trump. I got to be honest with you. I can't live that life. I remember when Obama was in office and there were a lot of people who would kind of do that with Obama. And I would come on and go, I can't live in outrage every day at every single thing somebody does. I just can't do it. And I would come in some days on the program and just go, I'm not doing outrage today. I can't do outrage today. I can't get outraged about every single thing a person does. And I can't find a way to make every single thing somebody does evil. Sometimes just do things. And that's okay. Everybody that you're politically opposed to is not Satan. Everybody that you're politically opposed to is not Hitler, except Graham Plattner, who may well be. But it's fascinating to watch all of this. So I worked with since they forced tonight in all markets at station central. Yeah, it is not a year. I can tell you that. That is, we'll just say that. The options I'm looking at that are all kind of coded into the paperwork, none of them is that. Have they renamed the fault line of Venezuela? Well, they did have the earthquake. And I'm sure that if Venezuela had their duly elected leader there, they would never have had the earthquake. So yeah, the fault line could be named Trump's fault. That would work very, very well. All right. See, you got that. You got what's up with Mitch McConnell. See, you guys got to tune in earlier. That's what's up with Mitch McConnell. You guys have got to tune in earlier. That's the issue there. We covered that earlier. I don't think Mitch is going to make it. The fact that his daughter deactivated his social media kind of spoke large volumes about his condition. But and look, I think Mitch McConnell is more of a moderate than a lot of people want. I get that. But at the same time, Mitch McConnell stopped what's his name? The Attorney General under Biden. Merrick Garland. Stopped Merrick Garland from being on the Supreme Court. He pushed through Trump's Supreme Court nominees. He made sure to do that. He was also very, very, very good at fundraising. And whether you like the money in politics or not, it's real. And so Mitch McConnell did a lot for this country. Genuinely did. But at the same time, I think he is a great example of this entire generation of people in Washington that has just stayed too long. And we saw it with Dianne Feinstein, where she was literally addled with dementia and was still would not resign her position. We saw it with John McCain, honest to goodness. John McCain had inoperable brain cancer and would not resign his seat, which was, again, just nuts. These guys cannot let go of power, regardless. And God doesn't play that. They always say Father Time is undefeated, and a lot of these guys are testing them and they're not winning. Are term limits the answer? Term limits can be an answer. But also just younger people getting involved and not being discouraged. We do need younger minds, hearts, bodies in Washington. No doubt about that. Term limit, the problem with term limits, as we learned in 1995, the problem with term limits is you've got to get them to vote in term limits. And that's not going to happen. Now, let me say this. There is another way that you can help the Senate from getting too old. You can't really help the House in this respect, but you can help the Senate from getting too old. And that is by eliminating the 17th Amendment. Letting the state legislatures choose the senator. And then that way, you don't have them going back to the voting public all the time going, I got you this millions of dollars for that center, and I got you that statue, and I got you that bridge, and I got you that. And the state legislature can choose it, and they can go, hey, this guy's, they can, and state legislatures could, under public pressure, could institute term limits themselves. And they could say, we're not going to appoint somebody who is, has been there for 3 terms or 2 terms, because a term in the Senate's 6 years. If you've been there 12 years, I feel like you've done your duty. And yet, so, I would like to see term limits implemented. I hate that the one time that they ever came up for vote, they didn't pass. But I would say at the end of the day, I think you eliminate the 17th. You have a shot at least making the Senate a little bit better. But that's just me. But I've been campaigning for that for years. The Senate was never supposed to be a popular vote. That was the point of the Senate. The House is the popular vote place. The Senate is the states looking out for the protection of the states in general. That's why largely before the 17th Amendment mandated popular vote for senators, that's why largely state legislatures chose the senators. But the states, it should be up to the states to determine how their senators are chosen, regardless. Whether they decide to continue letting it be a popular vote, or whether they let the governor do it, or whether they let the combined state legislature do it, or let the House, the state Senate or the state House do it, or whatever. Matters not to me at that point. But yes, the 17th should be eliminated. And that could be a way for individual states to implement term limits in the Senate. And you want to well, there's a whole other can of worms. But there are some amendments that were adopted that were ill-advised, no doubt. But yeah, 16th allows us to tax at the federal level. That would be a good one to start getting rid of too. Yeah, no doubt. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I've been going over an hour. We have had a lot of fun, some great interaction, some good news items. And I'll be back tomorrow morning at 7:00 because I got to do this. The funny thing is I woke up this morning and was like, I got to do some show prep. And I'm not really doing a show, but I'm just coming on here and talking. But I was just like, there are things we got to talk about. And so I'm going to come on and we're going to talk until we're done talking. But just know again to bring it back around to the beginning of this. Please be patient with me. I'm trying to work through this. It is not a fast process. It is sad, and it's not like, I used the hardware store analogy earlier that iHeart wouldn't stop me from going to work at a hardware store, but working in their field as a direct competitor, competing for these same clients, they have an issue with that. And I get that. If I were fired from one hardware store, I could go to a job in another hardware store and they wouldn't blink twice, but it's not the same thing, sadly. So that having been said, just know that I'm working on it. The path forward is getting very clear. The time frame is not. And just stick with me, please. And at some point, we'll be able to do a thing again, and it'll be on the radio as far as I'm concerned when we're ready to do it. But just hang on. See you guys. No, you are not. But the advertisers who make it possible for me to feed my family are. And that's the issue. All right. I got to go. Seriously. See you guys. Have fun. Take care.